The dinner was good. Somebody grabbed the check, and everybody said we should do this more often, and we all meant it. Then, before I got to my car, my phone buzzed. $8.40. Paid. And something in me went quiet in a way I did not like. It was not the money. I would never have asked for it. I had already forgotten it existed. The strange part is that being paid back made the evening feel smaller. I want to spend the next few minutes on exactly that feeling, because I do not think it is pettiness, and I do not think it has much to do with money at all. By the end, you will have a name for what that notification actually does. You will have one experiment from 1979 that shows the same small act moving in two opposite directions, and you will have one specific thing you can try this week that takes about 4 seconds. I will also tell you where the evidence is thin, because some of it is thin, and I would rather you hear that from me. Start with the notification itself, because I think most of us have gotten one. Somebody covers you. 20 minutes later, the amount comes back to the cent, sometimes with a little note attached. Thanks again. Nothing about that is rude. By every rule any of us were taught, that is the correct thing to do. It is prompt. It is fair. It is considerate of the other person's money. And still a lot of us feel a small drop when it lands. For a long time I assumed that meant something unflattering about me, that I wanted to be owed, that some part of me liked having people on the hook. I do not think that is it. Here is what I think it is. In 1979, two psychologists named Margaret Clark and Judson Mills wrote down a distinction that most of us live inside every single day without ever saying it out loud. They said there are two different kinds of relationships in which people give each other things. In one kind, you give something because the other person needs it. They called that a communal relationship. In the other kind, you give something because you receive something. They called that an exchange relationship. Now, hear those again, because the temptation is to sort them into good and bad, and that is not what they are. They are two different accounting systems. An exchange relationship is not cold. It is the thing that lets you hire a plumber. It lets you split rent with a roommate you barely know and stay on good terms. It lets you work with someone you have no interest in being friends with, cleanly for years. Everybody knows where they stand. Nobody is quietly resentful. That is a feature. A communal relationship is not noble either. It is just running a different rule. Nobody is tracking. Things stay uneven for long stretches, and it does not register as a debt, because debt is not the unit being used. And here's the part that matters. You never announce which one you are in. There is no form. You just act, and the other person reads your act, and from that they work out which column they are in. Which brings me to what Clark and Mills actually did, because they did not just theorize about it. They put it in a room. In their first experiment, 96 male college students each helped somebody with a task. Then that person either sent a small benefit back to them or did not. And before that happened, the researchers had already set up which kind of relationship the student thought was on the table. I have to be honest about how they did that, because it sounds strange now. They manipulated it using marital status. Some students were told the woman was married, which closed the door on anything except a straightforward exchange. Others were told she was single, which left a different kind of relationship at least possible. That is a 1979 design, 24 people per group. I am not going to sell it to you as a modern study, and I would not build anything on it alone. But look at what came out of it. Liking was scored on a scale that ran up to 240. In the exchange version, when she gave something back, liking went up from 177 to 193. In the communal version, when she gave something back, liking went down from 194 to 176. Same act, opposite directions. Getting paid back did not mean one fixed thing. It meant whatever the ledger said it meant. Their second experiment is the one I keep coming back to, because it has nothing to do with romance. 80 women, and this time the setup is completely ordinary. In one version, they were told the other person was new at the university, did not know many people, and was interested in getting to know people. That is just a potential friend. Everybody has met her. In the other version, they were told her husband was coming by to pick her up, and then they had to get her kid and drive home to another city. That is a person with a full life who is here to finish and go. Then, after being helped, that other person asked for something. In the exchange version, the request raised liking. In the friend possible version, it lowered it from 191 down to 156. 10 people per group. That is small. Hold it loosely. But the direction is the same in both experiments, and the direction is the whole point. When a communal relationship is on the table, settling up reads as a decision. It says, quietly, put us in the other column. So the question stops being what is wrong with the person who pays you back too fast. The question becomes something bigger. What makes a whole lot of people reach for the exchange ledger at the same time? On the 13th of August this year, Axios published a poll it ran with Generation Lab, 1,075 Americans between 18 and 34, surveyed from the 29th of July to the 4th of August. 96% said they worry about the cost of rent, groceries, gas, or utilities. 40% said extremely. 48% called the national economy poor. 78% expected a hard job search. And when they were asked which political party they trusted more to bring costs down, the winning answer was neither, 36%, ahead of both parties. The headline Axios put on it was thumbs down on everything. Now I have to be careful, so let me be careful out loud. That poll measures opinions about the economy and about politics. It does not measure the psychological variable I am about to describe. Putting them next to each other is an analogy. It is not a result. I am telling you that before I use it, not after. The variable has a name: personal relative deprivation. It is the sense that compared to people like you are getting less than you should be. There is a paper on it in the Journal of Applied Social Psychology by Shuigang Zheng, Ji Leng, and Ping Hu, and it circulated again this month. 3 studies. The first one, with 3,482 people, found that the more deprived people felt, the more deprived people felt them, where they treated the people around them as tools. The second one, with 250 people, went looking for what sits in between. It was not bitterness. It was not cruelty. It was exchange orientation, the ledger. The third one is the one that changes things for me. With the 194 people, they did not just measure how deprived someone already felt. They manipulated it. They put people into a scenario designed to make them feel behind, and then asked what they would look for in a new friend. The group that had been made to feel behind cared more about what a person could do, skills, usefulness, what they bring to the table. And here is the detail I cannot shake. The interpersonal qualities did not drop. The warmth, the good company, the being a person you like being around, all of that stayed where it was. It was not that anyone stopped caring who somebody is. It is that a new column appeared next to it, and that column started carrying weight. The limits, and most of these come from the authors themselves. Every sample was in China, and they note that norms about fairness and community differ across cultures. 2 of the 3 studies leaned on self-report and a hypothetical scenario, which they say does not capture real face-to-face interaction. And they say other mechanisms are probably involved. So do not take it as proof. Take it as this: somebody put people in a situation, changed nothing whatsoever about their character, and the way they described a good friend moved. That observation, by the way, is not new. It is about 2,400 years old. In Book 8 of the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle says the thing we find lovable is one of 3 things: the good, the pleasant, or the useful. And he says friendships built on the useful are easily dissolved because the people do not stay the same. When one of them stops being useful, the affection stops along with it. Then he says something sharper. Those whose love for one another is based on the useful, he writes, do not love each other for what they are, but only insofar as each gets some good from the other. That is the line that stings, but I want to point at what he does immediately after it, because this part almost never gets quoted. He does not condemn it. He says this kind of friendship is especially found among older men, because at that stage people pursue the useful rather than the pleasant, and among younger people with a keen eye to what is profitable. He is describing a circumstance. He is not diagnosing a defect. He is saying that when your situation pushes usefulness to the front, usefulness goes to the front. That is simply what people do, which is roughly what a randomized scenario did to 194 people, 24 centuries later. So let me say the thing I actually believe, before anybody hears an accusation in any of this. Keeping a ledger is usually right. If money is tight, tracking it is not greed, it is competence. If time is the scarcest thing you own, choosing to spend it with people who move your life forward is not shallow. It is arithmetic. Most of the exchange in your life is exchanged because it should be. I do it too. I have caught myself scanning a room for who is worth talking to at an event I attended specifically to meet people worth talking to. That is not a moral failure. That is the event. The problem is not that you have the ledger. In 1923, Martin Buber wrote a short, difficult book called I and Thou, built on a distinction that should sound familiar by now. There is the relation in which the other person is a sow, met directly, as themselves. And there is the relation in which the other is an it, something to be known, categorized, used. People quote Buber as though it is the villain of the book. He does not say that. What he says in Walter Kaufmann's translation is this: without it a human being cannot live, but whoever lives only with that is not human. Not never use anyone. Not stop counting. Only this: do not let it be the only one you have. And that is the real risk in a year when an enormous number of people feel like the deal is not going their way. The risk is not that you turn into someone who counts. You already were. It is that the counting spreads into the last few places that were still running on the other rule. And nothing announces that when it happens, there is no notification for it. You just notice one evening that everything is settled, that nobody owes you anything, that you owe nothing to anybody, and that a very tidy kind of loneliness has moved in. So here is the small, boring thing to try. I want it to be small, because size is not the variable here. Pick one relationship, somebody you already trust, and let it carry an unsettled balance for a while. Concretely, that is one of three things. First, the next time they cover you, do not send the money back within the hour. Say thank you, let it sit, and get the next one. That delay is not you freeloading. That delay is you telling the other person which column you think you are both in. Second, do something for them, and do not mention it. If they never find out, it never enters any ledger at all, which is the entire point of it. Third, and this is the hard one, ask them for something small that you could have handled yourself. That one feels backwards, because asking feels like taking. But look again at what those 1979 numbers said. In the version where a friendship was actually possible, being asked for something was not the thing that hurt. Being squared up with was. The variable is not whether you are a generous person. Generous people settle up fast constantly. The variable is whether there is one relationship in your life that is allowed to be uneven. And the measure is not how big it is whether there is one at all. The dinner really was good. Somebody will grab the check again, and 20 minutes later that notification will land, to the cent, with a note that says thanks again. And it still will not be about the money. It is a very small administrative act that quietly answers a question nobody asked out loud. What are we to each other? Most of the time the answer is fine. Most of the time, settled up is exactly right. Just keep one account open. Thanks for sitting with this one. I will see you on the porch.